begin our work session.
Thank you, Mayor. So as our practice is, we'll go over the consent agenda items in the work session and leave the regular agenda items for the regular meeting. And just as a reminder to everyone, we are live streaming our meetings and recording them. So the consent agenda, the first 4 items on the consent agenda are minutes from your meetings in June. We had a special meeting prior to the council meeting on June 3rd, then the regular meeting on June 3rd. We had a special meeting on June 6th, as well as a special meeting on June 17th. So all those minutes are for your consideration. Item 5 is a resolution that came to us as a request from the city of Gastonia, and actually towns around the state are doing this, to have a resolution acknowledging the commitment to fight the opioid addiction and to just dedicate the city's commitment to fighting addiction, both on the treatment side as well as the law enforcement side. And our fire department and police department are already doing this, and it just further commits the city to working on this cause. The next 3 items are street closures for upcoming 5K and 10K events. We've got a request from the Jaycees of Gaston County for a Labor Day 5K for September the 2nd, and that's the same course that they used last year. Also, we have multiple streets to be closed for the Stop Soldier Suicide 5K and 10K run. That's September 21st. We've done that event in the last several years. And then one that we've done for probably 11 or 12 years, the Girls in the Run 5K through downtown on Saturday, December the 7th. And then item 9 on the consent agenda is a follow-up from discussion we had at the June 3rd City Council meeting with an agreement with TechWorks. One of the items that you wanted us to change in that agreement was structured so that it was a $50,000 sort of credit for use of the facility at TechWorks, and it was not limited to 12 months. So that's in there. Also, Councilman Turner was asking about allowing Belmont nonprofit organizations to utilize that space. So we've got that in there as well. And just sort of as a procedural way to handle it, I've asked that the city clerk arrange any city or nonprofit use of TechWorks. That way we can track our usage, and then she'll check notes with Terry Cox, the director. And that way Terry's not getting a bunch of different requests from city staff or nonprofits. So any nonprofit group that wants to use TechWorks facility, we just coordinate with the city clerk. And I've given that to Terry, and she and her board are fine with it. And then item 10 is a follow-up from a discussion, well actually from a request that was brought to you, I believe at your February meeting. It's a resolution designating Belmont as a B-City USA affiliate. So the planning staff, Jamie Mendoza, has been working with the Environmental Sustainability Board on the requirements for B-City USA designation. So we feel like we meet the requirements, but there's a resolution that you need to approve tonight to do that. We had to make some minor tweaks to our integrated pest management policy. And so as we start spraying in different public areas for insecticides and pesticides, we'll have some signage out to just alert people. And we weren't using anything that we shouldn't have been using, but we're going to change some of the chemicals we use to be compliant with B-City USA.
I'm sure we'll hear a buzz about that if we don't.
Yes. So those are all the items on the consent agenda.
May I make a motion that we add 3 more to it? From the regular agenda, I would recommend that we add item 3, the Belmont Code of Ordinances regulation on non-residential buildings and structures. I think we've all read that and agree it's in alignment with what Gaston County is doing. Item 8, which is the consider approval of transportation projects that we've talked about regularly. Item 10, which is City Council remote participation policy. I think we've read it and all agree with that. And item 11, which is somewhat mandatory, the records retention. There's no need to talk about it because it's going to be required. So I say we move those to the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Let's do it. I think the actual motion needs to take place in regular session rather than work session.
Okay, perfect.
If there's consensus for that,
Yeah.
we can talk about it. if you have consensus for that, the actual motion probably should come in.
Perfect, we'll do that then.
Good
Thank
point,
you.
good point.
Do you need any backup or any additional information on those, or are you satisfied with what was presented?
Everybody
Those
good with
items?
that?
I think it's pretty straightforward.
You should summarize it like you did the other ones for them.
So for the benefit of the audience and the folks listening at home, our millions and millions of people listening on the live stream, item 3 on what was the regular agenda but will now be on the consent agenda is approval of a new chapter in our Code of Ordinances, which will apply to non-residential buildings and structures within the city limits. What we have found, primarily through the automated card reader building that caught on fire several years ago on Wilkinson, is that we don't have a set of ordinances that really address those non-residential structures. We have minimum housing ordinances that are pertinent for residential structures, and then we defer to Gaston County building inspections for compliance with the building code. But for some instances, you'll have a building that is secure and therefore compliant with the building code as long as there's no electrical issues or anything like that. But it's certainly not what we would want in our town, and we feel like it's a public nuisance. So there is statutory authority for us to regulate non-residential buildings through this process, so that way our code enforcement staff can go after these buildings that are sort of derelict, what we would consider a potential hazard. Gaston County has just approved a set of regulations based on the county statutes, and these are based on the city statutes. So there's a whole notice procedure and hearings. The one thing that's important to note is the city council is what's going to be considered the housing agency on here. So you'll be the one that would order demolition or order repairs and have those hearings.
So Adrian, would we have to wait till the next meeting in order to start that? 'Cause it's a 90-day at the end of it, looks like.
So if you
we're
approve
on
this
that.
on the consent agenda tonight, then Chris Ray will be out there this week getting ready.
Okay.
He's already out there.
He's asking
waiting,
questions. He needs to go ahead and start that work to clean up some of those areas in town.
Okay.
So item 8 is approval of a list of transportation projects to submit to the state for scoring. This is part of the new state transportation program where local governments submit projects to the local MPO. If it meets a certain criteria, then they forward it to the NCDOT. They are ranked on objective criteria. We're trying to formalize our process this year. We've got a new transportation committee, which is Councilman Turner, who's our MPO representative, Mayor Pro Tem Stowe, and Councilman Folk. They've vetted these projects, so we'd like the city to formally request these projects be considered by the MPO and DOT. Items 10 and 11, I'll certainly defer to the city clerk to correct anything that I get wrong on this. Item 10 is a resolution adopting a city council remote participation policy that governs when city council members can participate in a meeting even if they're not physically present. So as we have better technology and communication devices, you can video conference or you can call in if you can't physically be here. But there's reasons why you can do it, not just because you didn't want to come to the meeting tonight. So you have to have a legitimate reason. You have to notify either the mayor, the clerk, or the manager within 24 hours. And then there's some rules in there about when to vote and when you're not allowed to participate, such as a closed session or quasi-judicial. And then the last item would be item 11, and that is a approval of a record retention schedule from the North Carolina Department of Natural and Cultural Resources. This is state regulations on public records retention. You don't have the full schedule in there because it's several hundred pages. There's two sections, one that applies to all local governments and one that's specific to municipalities. But the clerk has worked with our department heads on what we think the retention schedule should be for various types of public records.
Yeah.
This is something that we'll be updating, I believe, annually or as needed.
All the government ones will be updated annually, and the local government one will be updated on a schedule, but amendments will come through as things change to be approved.
But to your point, Councilman Gadd, this is state regulation, so we need to adopt it and get our regulations in line with the state regulations. So I'll be happy to answer any questions about the consent agenda items or items 3, 8, 10, and 11 from the regular agenda.
The non-residential building maintenance ordinances, is there any grandfathering in that, or is that across the board?
It's across the board. So nothing is grandfathered. That's all I have for the work session, Mayor.
Let's see, we got about 5 minutes before we start the regular meeting, unless you want to.
You can
Start as soon as the work.
We can start now.
Let's let the clerk get the sign-up sheets,
All right.
and then you can begin.
Boy, that's fastest one I've ever seen, isn't it? Man. No public comment, huh? Okay. All right. Well, that being the case, let's get a motion to call the meeting to order.
Make a motion.
Got a motion?
Second.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right. Call the meeting to order. I'm going to ask Jim Heffernan to do the invocation and Alex Villarreal to do the Pledge of Allegiance for us.
Lord, as we meet today to conduct matters of city business, guide our hearts and minds in the spirit of fairness. Impart your supreme wisdom upon our activities so that our affairs may reach a successful conclusion. We pray that you remain our source of guidance today. Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Muchas gracias. Yeah, that's good. That's good. All right. Do we have a,
I make a motion that we add items 3, 8, 10, and 11 to the consent agenda.
I'll second it.
got a motion and a second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Now, do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda the way it is?
I make a motion.
I'll
Got a
second
motion, got a second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, let's move right along then. Got that. All right, first on the agenda is public comment. Nobody has signed up for public comment, so we'll go to item number 2.
Mayor, it sounded like some...
Unaware of the signing up.
Huh?
We were unaware of the signing up.
Yeah, we were waiting for public comment, we just didn't know you could sign up.
Do you want to allow them to go ahead and sign up and speak?
Yeah, go ahead and sign up on this if you want to,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Here's a pen. There you go. Yeah, you're welcome.
The way that works, you have 3 minutes. You got to state your name and address.
Thank you.
69 McKee Farm Lane.
Thank you. Oh, okay. Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. That being the case, the first person signed up to speak is Greg Hunter.
Right here.
Yeah.
My name is Greg Hunter, 1169 McKee Farm Lane. Wanting to speak about the issue of opening the bus entrance early. I have concern for my son who wants to ride his bike up and around the area, in particular the circle that's in front of the bus entrance. I don't know why the crane has to block the other entrance. It seems to me like it's a construction matter to plan for appropriate placement of the proper size crane rather than block their own construction entrance. So it seems to me like that's a contractor problem not a South Point Village problem. So we oppose it. We don't think it's safe. My concern as a person in the surveillance industry is also who watches it from the time it's not being watched, from later that afternoon until the next morning. It looks like a wide open gate for off-road enthusiasts, ATVs, four-wheelers. People have already been back there, have already seen them. They come out, they mud up the street. So it's already an issue. It's already being used. I feel like the contractor's already been told they can use it, and they went curb and guttered all the way to the road already and put their crush and run in it. So they've already been told that they can do their thing, and we understand that, but we think it's a bad idea for our kids' sake. It's a bad idea for my sake. I'm trying to move from the neighborhood because of the school's placement, not because I think the school's a bad idea. I'm just not going to need it by the time it comes around. And so, there are those of us that strongly object, feel like there'd be more of us here if it wasn't the week of July 4th and they're on vacation probably starting Friday. But we wanted to make it in before we went to boys' night out and have our say. So I think it's a contractor's issue. He needs to find another crane and another place to set it and not take advantage of our neighborhood for it.
Okay. Thank you for your comments on that. Thank you. Next person we have signed up to speak is Emily Kraus.
Hi, I'm Emily Kraus. I'm at 1120 McKee Farm Lane, and I'm also here to oppose opening the construction entrance. Brought my kids. I have Jack, Sophia, and Joe. The construction entrance is situated in front of our one common area in front of our neighborhood. My boys love to play kickball, football, baseball, and errant balls that run into the street. While we all trust our kids, after they dive after a ball, heaven forbid a dump truck comes. So for me, it's a safety concern. For my kids and other people's kids, they use that circle as a bike path, and they bike up and down it, around the circles, and you always have to watch them so they don't go into the street. But just with those big cars and things of that, you have to be more vigilant with the construction. Being right there in an area we use it a lot. It's 90 degrees, but we're still out there every day running around the circle and throwing balls. So I would appreciate it if it wasn't open, so that way we can still enjoy our neighborhood safely for the next year and a half without having to worry about all the construction equipment. And like Greg said, I have already seen, dump trucks parked on the street, unloading backhoes, taking them in through that area. So it is already being used, I think, as it wasn't intended. So I would like it not to be opened as well.
Okay. Thank you, Emily. Thank you. Next person we have signed up to speak is Chris Atchison.
Thank you. My name is Chris Atchison. I reside at 1140 McKee Farm Lane. Here to oppose the access point for the construction site. For the reasons already stated, safety is a major factor. My young boys play with the Kraus family on a regular basis. But outside of that, I'm actually a contractor myself. I've been involved with a lot of schools around the area, the new construction going on. Currently, I'm involved in about 5 school projects across the state. Looking at the footprint that they've got to work with, I do believe there's adequate space to find an alternate route as opposed to coming into our neighborhood. It's already been a disruption in that the sidewalk has been breached. We can't get strollers, we can't get wheelchairs up and down to, our usual walking points to the end of the neighborhood to turn back around 180, come back. You either have to access the road or find a different, just a different walking path. Also, from the limited information I've read about the surety bond or, the insurance plan, just in case they do tear up the road. If you look further down the road, in my mind's eye, that just appears to be another problem, kicking the can down the road. Say they do tear the road up, comes time to fix it, that's going to be a major repair. Obviously at the main entrance to our neighborhood, which is going to bog us down, that's the main vein in and out. It's already a tight, congested spot up and down South Point Road. We are going to be the ones having to find an alternate route for somebody else's convenience. I just feel like there is an opportunity here for them to reevaluate their plan. And they've got an unfinished product. We have a finished product. So,
anybody want to make any address to the folks that live on that street?
That's what we're supposed to do.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Next, we have a presentation on the new Caramont Health Hospital in Belmont. It's coming up.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
How you doing,
Thank you,
Chris?
sir. I'm doing very
Good to
well.
see you.
Thank you for the invitation. Members of the council, Mr. Manager, Mr. Wilson, thank you so much for allowing me a few minutes this evening to come speak to you. It's been a long time coming. I've been looking forward to being able to share some additional information with you about the exciting news that is going on in Belmont, particularly as it would relate to our relationship with Belmont Abbey College, the second hospital that we plan to build in the next few years. But let me first start by just personally thanking you for your public service. As an individual who was in public service for over a decade, folks that have not been there do not know how to appreciate it quite so well until you serve in governing. And so I just want you to know that as actually a Belmont resident myself, I have great appreciation for what you do, and go Red Raiders. So I will start this evening, as opposed to, we had a couple of different avenues whereby we'd have the conversation this evening, but I think we're just going to show a video that we shared with our Caramont family that announced our plans over the next few years. And so I'm going to ask the manager, if he'll just play that for us. It's about 5 minutes in length, and then I'll add a couple of comments at the end, and then we can have a conversation, Mayor, of any questions that the council may have at that time.
Sure.
Thank you.
Roll the flick.
To be our community's most trusted healthcare partner. That vision is at the heart of everything we do to care for our patients and serve our community. It requires a clear, purpose-driven commitment to put our patients first, to put care first, with an uncommon commitment to providing better medicine through advanced healthcare delivered by people who genuinely care. This commitment includes investment in the initiatives that drive us forward, both as a health system and as a community.
For nearly 75 years, Caramont Health has provided life-changing and life-saving care to our community. Today, we are a strong, independent health system and are consistently recognized for providing compassionate, exceptional, and highly reliable care. We achieve that level of excellence through our dedication to advanced medicine and retaining outstanding caregivers and an ability to anticipate the changing needs of our community.
Those changing needs are the reason for this message to you and all of the Caramont Health family. With nearly 250,000 patient encounters every year at Caramont Regional Medical Center, the hospital has experienced a very steady increase in patient volume over the last several years. Coupled with the projected growth of our community, particularly in the eastern part of the county, and the advancing age of our patient population, the need for health care continues to rise, and we must be ready to respond. On behalf of the Board of Directors and the entire leadership team, I want you, the members of the Caramont Health team, to be the first to hear some very exciting news about our health system. Later today, we will announce plans to invest $325 million in Gaston County through several critical construction and expansion projects over the next 5 years. The first project is the expansion of critical care services at Caramont Regional Medical Center. The construction of a new tower will add about 50 rooms to accommodate the growing number of patients who require this level of care. Our current plans feature a spacious, modern floor plan designed to support the delivery of more efficient care from our medical and nursing teams and a better experience for our patients. The second project is the planned construction of a new hospital in Belmont. This satellite hospital will extend Caramont Health's clinical network and position the main campus of Caramont Regional Medical Center as a regional hub, offering highly advanced medical and surgical care to all cities and townships across our service area. The new hospital will require that we apply for a certificate of need from the state to build this new facility. As such, we are still in the early planning stages, but we anticipate offering emergency services, inpatient care for patients requiring admission or observation, a labor and delivery unit, and a full complement of diagnostic services, including laboratory and imaging. To do this, we will enter into a long-term partnership with Belmont Abbey College to lease land near the crossing of Highway 273 and Interstate 85.
Both our institutions strive to exemplify what is best in our community: progress, integrity, excellence, and virtue. Belmont Abbey College began over 143 years ago to offer education to this community. And this new partnership is an exciting opportunity for both of us to cooperate together for the welfare not only of individuals, but the entire Gaston County community, and to foster its progress and growth into the future.
For both of these projects, we anticipate being fully operational within the next 5 years. And as a clinically led, professionally managed organization, the leadership team will work with members of our medical staff and clinical leadership to thoughtfully plan and program these projects over the next several years. Finally, the third project in our investment plan, something you may already be aware of, is the construction, renovation, and opening of several medical office buildings in Cramerton, Belmont, Bessemer City, and eventually on the campus of Caramont Regional Medical Center.
I'm sure you've heard Mr. Peak say that Caramont Health must be more aligned, more focused, and more caring. This investment does just that. It aligns our long-term vision with our community's evolving healthcare needs, and it shows a clear focus on the future of our community. And this investment, the most significant in the history of this organization, is further evidence that Caramont Health cares more for this community than any other health system in our region.
We are committed to being the most trusted healthcare partner for the people that place their lives in our hands. This investment at our main campus in Gastonia, in the new facility in Belmont, and the additional initiatives around the county are indicative of Caramont Health's commitment to meet the future healthcare needs of the community that we have called home since 1946. In closing, I, along with the leadership team, am excited for the future of our health system, and we invite you to join us on this historic journey. These critical projects will provide new levels of access to the compassionate, exceptional, and highly reliable care that you provide to our patients on a daily basis. Thank you for being a part of the Caramont Health family.
Mr. Mayor, thank you for allowing me to share that with you.
Sure.
I wanted you to experience what our Caramont Health family experienced, because you are part of that by our partnership here in Belmont. We're very excited about the opportunity to execute these projects. The Certificate of Need application will be filed August 15th of this year. We will hear back from the state with regard to the approval of that CON by January 28th, and then we should know the final result by March the 20th of next year. If all goes well, we could be moving dirt as early as next summer this time on the Belmont Abbey campus. So that is sort of the timeline as it would stand with regard to the new hospital. I will tell you that we could not do this without great city leadership that you provide. The growth that is happening here in this community and allowing us to grow with you is really truly a privilege for our community hospital to be able to expand to meet those needs. We're also excited about the partnership with Belmont Abbey College, our only four-year college in this community. Just this week, we opened the Caramont Health Sciences Academy at East Gaston, which is a partnership between Caramont Health and East Gaston High School, and this will be a magnet academy where students will be able to go from their 10th through the 12th grade year in partnership with us, Gaston College, and East Gaston, and they will be able to graduate high school with a CNA 2 certification, which would allow them to work in a hospital setting immediately upon graduation. It will also allow them to transition much more easily into other more advanced health sciences, such as nursing or even on to medical school. So it's my vision and Caramont's vision to lift the opportunities for our youth from an educational perspective and to connect them even at the high school level through Belmont Abbey College, Gaston College, and then ultimately Caramont Health. So we're delighted to be a part of that. Thank you for allowing us to be a part of this. We will periodically come update you on the progress as you so desire. We're glad to do that. And at this point, Mr. Mayor, I would be delighted to answer any questions that you or the council may have.
First of all, I want to appreciate what you're doing, because there's an aging population in this county, as you know. A lot of people, there's not enough beds. And I really believe this is going to enhance our healthcare system tremendously, and I appreciate your leadership. You and Ronnie taking the bull by the horns and going with this thing.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you very much.
What you're doing at East Gaston is commendable as well. It's a good project.
Thank you. We, on Thursday evening, there will be up to 60 students into the program, and as of Thursday, there were all but about 2 seats filled. And so we actually had over 30 students at sort of just a meet and greet and a celebration at the kickoff of the program, and so we're very excited about our partnership there. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Good.
You anticipate any challenges with certificate of need?
Great question. The interesting thing about certificate of need, and for those that are not as familiar, Mr. Gabb, I'm sure you're very familiar with that in your line of work. The certificate of need is the state's approval for the licensed beds of hospital rooms, basically, and in Gaston County, there have not been any new licensed beds available since the 70s. This is the first time that we have actually grown to the point to where the state has said you have a greater bed demand.
Yeah.
And so there will be 33 beds in the 2019 plan, an additional 64 beds in the 2020 plan for up to about almost 100 beds due to the growth in Gaston County and the growth in Caramont Health. Typically speaking, well, not typically speaking, I'll say this first, the only hospital system eligible to apply for these beds is Caramont Health, because we generated the need, and we're the only hospital system licensed in Gaston County. So an appeal by any other entity would be only on the merit of, we don't want you to have them, even though we can't have them. So it would be what I would say a very politically challenging appeal. Could happen, certainly would not stop a competitor from potentially doing that, but I'm not too concerned about our ability to prevail.
State board is involved as far as making that decision?
They are. And so for example, in Mecklenburg County, where you have 2 major hospital systems, they sort of have a gentleman's agreement that if the bed need was generated by that particular hospital system, the other one does not appeal that. So if Atrium were to generate the bed need, typically Novant does not appeal them receiving those beds, and vice versa. So we're hopeful that they will also hold true to that principle with us here in Gaston County.
I hope so, yeah. Ron, you got any questions? Ron?
No questions, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mayor. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Chris.
Thanks, Chris.
Looking forward to that. Hope we get that passed. Go twist Gene Wood's arm. See you. All right. That's a good presentation right there. All right, item number 4 we move to next. Consider the approval of construction contract for water main and sanitary force main extensions on Belmont Middle School property.
Thank you, Mayor. Before we move on to that, you notice our technology worked better tonight than it has in the last couple of months. And I see Seth Norcott out there, and he spent a lot of time in the last week getting all this working together, so I appreciate him doing that one.
Let's give him a big hand. Come on, Seth.
I told Seth and Jamie that this has to work by Monday because Chris is showing a video. Actually, I didn't tell them they were showing a video until today. Presentation, it has to work.
Yeah.
How about that?
Good job.
So now, I'd like to ask Jerry Hatton, our city engineer, to come and explain the proposed contract for water main and sanitary force main extension.
Back at your March meeting, City Council approved a professional services agreement for the design of a force main and water main, which will cross a portion of the Belmont Middle School property. Our point at the time was that this is the time to do it before school is open, and then we have to tear up roads and other things. What I passed out, and I think as I told you earlier, this project has been on the docket for quite a while. It's covered by the master plan, which is the front thing that you see here. Unfortunately, you can't read it, it's too small. But this was a study done in 2008 when we identified, in order to serve water and sewer to the Pittenger property, as it was called then, we'd have to get a line across there, so we did that. The second sheet, I blew it up just so that you could actually see what's happening there, but this part that sticks out here is separate from the Pittenger property, and it's now owned by the school board. And you can see we had a water line, a sewer force main in there to serve that area. That's their connection to the system. Right now, the plans are essentially done, and they're going through the permitting process from the state for the extension of these lines. So that's well in place. And then we also received from Bean Construction Company, they are the contractors for the school and all the site work at the school. We received a proposal from them to do that construction and to coordinate it with their overall project. So we felt we couldn't bring in a separate contractor because on a big project like the school board essentially turns over the site to the guy building the building and everything else and says, here, just get it done and then give it back to us. So he gave us a proposal, and the price for this is $499,732. This money would come out of our water and sewer fund, reserve dollars, and I'm also, in addition to that amount, I'm requesting that we allot an extra $50,000 for changes. There's a good potential for changes along South Point Road because being adjacent to the highway, putting the line in is going to be a little bit difficult. And we always have trouble with mud down there. Washing the streets are an extra in this contract. So, in any case, but I think we're ready to go. This is a good time. I'm sure they would like to do it yet this summer while the weather's good and before the school starts getting cleaned up, polished up, and get ready to go. So they can get it done, get out of the way, and we'll be set. So it's my recommendation that we proceed with the project.
One question, Jerry.
Yes.
I know it says we're not going through our normal bid process. The question we need to ask is this a reasonable cost that we're looking at?
It's a little higher than what I had estimated, but I think my estimate of cost doesn't include all the coordination that the contractor has to do with all his other activities. And I just felt that if we went out for a separate bid, we'd be putting our contractor in conflict with their schedule and the things that they're trying to do. So I think this is the fastest way of getting it done, and we'll turn it over to them. We don't want to hear any complaints.
Anybody have any questions for Jerry?
You think that the costs are reasonable, though?
Yes, I believe it's reasonable, yes.
Okay.
And I will note that this will be one of those items where we will make the upfront capital investment, but we will recoup that investment from our system development fee program when the properties around here come in for development that will connect to this. So this is infrastructure planning that we get accused of not doing. We've been doing since 2008 to prepare for growth, and so this will be something that we'll make that initial investment, but we'll recoup that cost, from the developers who connect to it.
Okay, we'll go with that.
I make a motion, we approve the construction contract.
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Motion carries.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Jerry, for all your hard work on that. Next item on the agenda is item number 5, which is the approval by Gaston County Schools for use of McKee Farm Lane as temporary construction entrance to middle school.
Thank you, Mayor. I will give you some background on it and turn it over to the property owner for more information. As I've informed you over the last several weeks about some concerns that we have over the use of McKee Farm Lane, which, if you're not familiar, so here's a map of the new middle school campus. Let's see if I can. So South Point Road is running north-south. McKee Farm Lane is at the bottom of the screen. It runs east-west. It is the primary street within the South Point Village neighborhood. It connects South Point Road to this neighborhood, but also extends it to a connection to South Point Ridge neighborhood. You see there is a driveway connection in the approved plans to McKee Farm Lane, and as you'll recall from the conditional use permit hearing with the middle school last year, this is going to be a bus-only entrance. So the primary entrance to the school, the parent entrance to the school, will be on South Point Road. The only entrance, only access from McKee Farm Lane will be a bus entrance upon completion. So that brings us to tonight. City staff has had a lot of discussions with the general contractor for the site and the school system on use of this particular access. The primary construction entrance to the site is that South Point Road future primary entrance. That's been approved by NCDOT as a construction entrance. That was to be the main entrance. And I will certainly defer to the contractor of the school as to the logistics of on-site maneuvering of the equipment. But as I understand it, you see the main building of the school and its proximity to South Point Road. A crane will be delivered to the site right in the area between South Point Road and the main building of the school. That will be used obviously for the construction of the taller parts of that school building. But as I understand it, that crane will block north-south traffic on site from the construction equipment. If you look at where that football field, soccer field is, the track, that is lower in elevation than the school building itself, and so there's some retaining walls that have to be built in order to accommodate construction traffic on the west side of the school building. So the contractors have requested to utilize McKee Farm Lane as a kind of a backup construction entrance during this time where a crane will be positioned that would effectively block north-south traffic on site. We had a meeting with the general contractor in January there was some concern about construction equipment and construction employees utilizing the McKee Farm Lane entrance, which we had told them not to use. Because at that time they were preparing for the parking areas, they wanted to have an opportunity for construction employees and visitors to the site to utilize McKee Farm Lane and to be able to park in a gravel parking lot on that end of the project. We did agree to that as long as there was no construction equipment or heavy equipment utilizing McKee Farm Lane. But we thought employees in their personal vehicles or visitors like we were when we went to the groundbreaking ceremony, to utilize that would probably be okay. And we had two primary concerns. Number one was the safety of the residents of both South Point Village and South Point Ridge. And as you heard a little bit tonight, there's a lot of young kids and there's sidewalks. So there's opportunities for bad things to happen when you have heavy equipment and children in a residential neighborhood. The other concern is, frankly, is selfish on the city's part, is just the physical maintenance and upkeep of McKee Farm Lane. That's been turned over to the city. It's our street. If heavy equipment tears that street up, ultimately it's our responsibility to fix it. Of course, we would require the developer or the contractor to do that, but if we could have avoided the situation, we would prefer to avoid it. And I'm sure the residents of the neighborhood don't want their street torn up, because it would be, even when it's fixed, it's never going to be right.
That's right.
So those were our concerns in not allowing contractors to utilize McKee Farm Lane for heavy construction entrance. So again, as I've informed you the last several weeks, we've had a lot of back and forth with the contractor and with the school system. The school system has provided a compromise proposal that's in your packet for consideration. That is found on page 94 of your packet. And just briefly for the benefit of the audience, this proposal from Gaston County Schools would allow for the construction entrance on McKee Farm Lane, McKee Farm Road, only between 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. Monday through Friday. Okay. So not interfering with a.m. peak traffic, not interfering with the p.m. peak traffic. And what was important, I thought, to include was a Gaston County Schools employee would be on site and operate as a flagman to ensure safe passage between South Point Road and the entrance to the site. and if there's no flagman present from Gaston County Schools, then the driver for the equipment has to use the main construction entrance on South Point Road. Gaston County Schools would agree to pay for any damage to the road to McKee Farm Lane. We'll have better signage. Forming, if you've been out there, there's the signs for the construction entrance are relatively small, and the grass is kind of growing up around it, so better signage. And that the general contractor would regularly clean McKee Farm Lane of any debris or mud or dirt or anything that falls off the trucks. What I think is important for this is that any violation of this agreement would result in it being terminated. So we've already had some issues out there, so this is sort of a one strike and you're out agreement. And because we don't know how long this impediment to north-south traffic on the campus is going to exist, I would recommend that we have this be a 4-week agreement that automatically renews, and you just give me the authority to renew it. If it's working as Gaston County Schools intends it to work, and we're not having any issues, then I would renew it as needed until the crane is gone and the work till the retaining walls are built on the backside of the school, so you do have better circulation internally. But if it's not working out, I don't renew it. And again, if there's one violation, then it's null and void. So that's the background. I'd certainly turn it over to Gary or David, Gary Hoskins with Gaston County Schools, and Dave Bellamy, architect, and can give you more of the logistics.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. I think Mr. Miller's done a great job summarizing our concerns, and we've been working with him for a number of weeks to try to address the issues that you heard earlier today. Obviously, safety is one of the things that we focus on every day in schools, and so we're focused on safety as well. I think the big thing that we really brought to the table was bringing Gaston County Schools employees, not contractors, not subcontractors, but our own employees that would be sitting out at that intersection with McKee Farm Road and the site to try to control traffic and make sure that you don't have kids riding bikes along the sidewalks when you got a truck trying to pull out. We also agreed not to turn left on McKee Farm Road, which I think was a shortcut some of the subs were taking to connect in with another part of the city, so we've agreed to do that as well. As he mentioned, this will be a temporary issue. The cranes are blocking that front access road that's parallel to South Point Road for a period of time, and we're not able to access the backside because of the retaining walls are not yet complete. So with that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Bellamy if he has any other comments, or Mr. Mayor, if y'all have questions or additional concerns, we'll be happy to try to address those.
Employees, how many will be positioned, I guess, per shift? Is it 1, 2?
2.
2 per shift?
2, yes, because we'll have to give them a break. We'll have, tent and shelter, the orange vest, yellow vest.
Do you want questions now or after Mr. Bellamy speaks?
I was just going to give a
Yeah,
little
let him speak,
addition,
and then we'll have,
okay.
they'll have
So
some.
certainly, hats off, we had a lot of meetings about safety, so certainly we understand safety in school construction and design. That is paramount, first and foremost. We understand the concerns of the neighborhood. With that said, we've got a situation where if you limit areas of access and you limit the ability of the contractor to build it, then you can potentially add costs to the project, and you can add time to the project. So it would behoove the project to have multiple ways to kind of build this. I think it sounds like the agreement is a very fair agreement in terms of basically where they're placing the crane to fill the highest portions as quickly as possible. We have bi-weekly meetings to go and reinforce this has to be done within a date. This will when that crane is off site, so that's a regular topic. And then, like we said, when we finish building the pieces that need to be in place, the rest of the site starts to flow much better. But right now, we're in one of those key portions where it would really behoove us to have the crane where we're recommending and the retaining walls in place as quickly as possible while we have good weather. This is, in school construction and design, this is the time to get things done. So.
One question I'm sure we all have, how long are we talking about? Several weeks or several months? Because that makes a big difference to me in looking at this.
It would definitely, I don't have the detailed schedule in front of me, but it would be in months instead of weeks, but I don't have that exact figure.
Okay.
So I'll report back.
Then the other question that goes with that, Beam Construction is a very well-known firm, as all of the things. Why did they not figure this out till now? Because this looks like we're going to be the bad guys if we say no, and in reality, we shouldn't say yes based on what we're looking at, because we don't have a dog in this fight. I mean, I'm not trying to be rude or disrespectful, but that, we're looking at big trucks, hot asphalt turning, so we're not looking at this as going to be a perfect situation. So tell us a little bit about why they did not do, to me, what they should have done.
I think during the bid process, this was not brought up, that this would be limited access, or at least I'm not sure that it was brought up to the people that were bidding on this project. We had, 8 or 10 firms that bid, and obviously we got a local firm with Beam Construction that was the low bid. To my knowledge, that was never discussed until after the bids were opened, and they had already, scheduled their construction project and priced it based on that schedule, thinking that they had complete access, and then we met later with the city and restricted that access.
I think the biggest thing that people are concerned about is the safety of those kids based on what the family said. And if we have a flagman that's stationed there.
Yes, 2.
You think he would be able to more or less protect some of these kids as far as that goes?
We'll be putting them right adjacent to the sidewalk, so they should be able to see if children are riding the bikes on the sidewalk. I worry more about the construction traffic coming out of the site than coming into the site, because you should be able to see, down the sidewalk, if a child is on a bike or something. But when you're coming out of the site, your view is blocked a little bit for the child as well as the driver. So that's where I think it adds some safety.
Is there a way they can put some type of a mirror, a reflector mirror, where they can see what's coming up the sidewalk down there as a safety issue?
There is a way, yes, sir. And if that's something that
I think that would help some of the families down there as far as the safety of the kids.
Convex mirrors.
Being able to see if a truck's coming out of that entrance right there, to be able to have the visibility to see that.
Shoot from the hip, and Gary can hit him there if I'm talking out of turn, but we have a similar type situation in CMS with a very tight, we've got 40-foot restrictions to build a very large high school on campus, and so they're working similar with 2 flagmen. This flagmen have walkie-talkies, so they have immediate access with each other. We haven't actually talked about the mirror idea, but that's a very good one. But anything you can do to over-communicate to make sure everybody knows that truck, that piece of equipment is coming down the road and clear the way. It's all about safety and communication. So flagmen with walkie-talkies.
Right. We will add that mirror. I don't know how long it takes to get in a mirror and install it, but we will do that.
But is this a matter of that it's convenient versus building a temporary construction road like a lot of sites do to allow equipment in and out of the facility?
Well, in the parking lot, you can see sort of at the bottom left of that, they're already doing some curb and gutters, so that's not an available access. As I think Mr. Miller mentioned, the grade from the school to the football field is to the point where it gets a little dangerous when you got big trucks coming in and out on those grades.
Sure.
So I think as a safety, it improves the safety for the workers. To be able to have that other access and not go, you can see that there's a retainage pond over to the right of the football field, and then you have some dedicated wetlands or green space.
Throughout the design, we did everything we could to basically push the site as much as possible to the left to maximize the site and to save the trees that you see there. So that's a great end result. The benefit will be a great asset for Belmont.
Yeah.
But the logistics of that is you do have some site changes, some grade changes that we have to build and make the site secure before we can start moving things. So to answer your question, it needs to have kind of that mobile, that ability to move around the site from 2 different ways, if at all possible. So that's
Well, Martha raised a question I wanted to, is I don't understand how this was not forecasted or foreseen initially. I mean, you've got people out there looking at topography, you've got engineers, you've got people coming up with the plans. This is a mirror image of a school that was built in Stanley, so you know the requirements of what equipment you're going to need and placement of it. I know we had discussions about limiting access on McKee Farm for the reasons the city manager brought forward. And when you put a surety bond up, pay for damage, what does that mean? I mean, if you crack the road, are we going to end up, they've got a fairly pristine entrance to their community now. It's a new community. If you start tearing up the asphalt, all of a sudden, are they going to have a patchwork? Are you going to pave the entire section up to a certain point, or are you just going to spot patch here and there?
But obviously, that will depend on, us working with the city. I mean, we'll be here for a long time. The architect and the contractor, they'll be gone, but, in a year and a half, we're going to still be here. So if you'll recall, last time we talked, we had some issues about the DOT and what they were going to require us to do. And so when we did the bid, we weren't able to tell the potential contractors how much money that was going to cost. So we put a pretty high number on that. And as you know, DOT came back and said you're not really required to do anything. So we have some money in reserves for road improvements, and that will be part of what we use this money for.
Yeah. So you use road improvement money to
create a temporary
to fix stuff that you're breaking at the.
It's improving that road.
It's not improving; it's just bringing it back to where it was.
On the lower right-hand corner there between McKee Farm and where you have what looks like existing curb and gutter, can you not put your crush and run from South Point Road there and get into the same area?
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I was going.
There's a lot of topography.
Crush run's not big enough.
I have a comment. Now, there's no doubt that the Belmont community has supported the schools more than any other community around financially, and certainly through the process that occurred before you were able to acquire this property. My concern is that Mr. Miller has already stated you have violated the agreement twice. And my concern, Mr. Manager, is the issues that the parents raised. Do you see those as very pertinent issues? Have you had trouble with those issues?
I have not heard specifically from the residents, that there's been any sort of near miss or any, immediate safety concern. I have heard frequently from the residents when there is usage of that. And then I share that information with the Gaston County School staff.
But it's more than 2 times. It's 2 times in the past week, is it not?
That's correct.
How many other times are we talking about before this that you know of? In other words, not everybody's sitting out there watching it all the time.
Right. And frankly, that's why I thought this was a fair proposal, because you're going to have Gaston County Schools overseeing this.
So now, is this 4-week situation you were talking about, that if we approve it, that it would be reevaluated every 4 weeks? Is that in here? Did I miss seeing that?
That is after the last paragraph, after item 7.
Right.
On page
4-week.
94.
Okay, 4-week plan. Okay, I did miss that. All right.
In my understanding, you'll use that $1 million that you set aside for the correction of any kind of damage to the road?
Well, one of the things that we're doing that I don't think we're required to do is we're going to have a deceleration lane coming from South Point Road from north to south, going into the site of 150 feet or so. We're pricing that out. So we're going to be adding that. And then any other road-related issues, whether it's damage caused to existing roads or adding new roads. I know we've got to have a traffic light there. DOT will be paying for that, but we'll have to put that cost out up front. So that's what we'll be using, part of those funds for, certainly not the whole amount.
So you have a situation here that's really not a situation either one of us like. And there needs to be a resolution with it. Now, what are you going to do if one of your truck drivers going there the wrong way and Adrian calls and says, whoops, no more?
What's the other solution?
Yeah, what are you going to do?
What are we not
as far as an
hearing that's out
architect,
there?
what are you going to do if he calls and says, all right, no more tomorrow?
The solution on my end, just in my world, is if you have one construction access, then you do add time and money, because logistically, you can't build things in the same place at the same time. You've got to be able to provide safe access around. So
Yeah.
when we can build on this side and on this side, things flow safely and more smoothly. When we have to build here first on the larger area, wait, and then build in the same place, it adds money and time.
But if he did call you and say no more, would the school not be built?
It would certainly be built. It
Well,
would
that's
just take,
it. So there's
it would
another
just be a
solution.
different,
Yes, I'm sorry.
be a different schedule and a different budget, but it would be built.
And it could potentially affect the end opening day. We right now have enough time to move in. Everything's on the track. Time-wise, actually have a little bit of extra time to move in, make sure the teachers can move into their classrooms. That end date could potentially be.
You're going to be very trusty that a truck driver don't come in that way.
Truck drivers don't always follow directions. That's a real problem.
Yes.
Several areas that we have in the city right there.
I mean, you can imagine there's a lot of deliveries. It's a 155,000 square foot building, and there's a lot of materials and deliveries coming in and out, and we're trying to do the best we can to control that traffic.
It seems like we're all on the same page about the safety. That's the biggest concern that we have, is these kids getting hurt and stuff like that. If you have a flag man, and if you monitor it very well and stuff, and don't allow the turns into the left side, as opposed to coming in from the right side, then I think we'll be in a position to where it'll be a little bit safer right there. And Adrian, are you good with the plan that we have so far as the 4 weeks?
Adrian, your recommendation is to put it on trial basis. Is that what I'm understanding?
Yes, sir.
And that's really not what you want to do, but it seems to be the.
So I'm, as city manager and as you referenced, Mayor, Ron, we've got a lot of skin in the game on this project.
Yeah.
And I want to make sure that Gaston County Schools is able to build their school as quickly and efficiently as possible, so that it minimizes the disruption to the neighborhood. I want Gaston County Schools to have a good experience working here, so that they'll build additional schools in Belmont. At the same time, we have a duty to protect our residents from potential danger here. I think this is probably the best solution, and we'll give Gaston County Schools the opportunity to prove they can do this. And
One
if they
more
can't-
strike is what you're saying.
If they can't, yeah, this may end up, I may have to call Gary tomorrow.
The other question is, when is the crane scheduled to show up? Because we don't need to do that till then, if we choose to do this at all. When is that scheduled?
Provide you that answer. We'll get that answer.
Does he know? He's raising his hand.
Yes, he's the general contractor.
The crane is on site now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you, Robert.
Was initially, though, I mean, we disavowed this traffic on McKee Farm Road for these very specific concerns that
Yes.
we're revisiting right now.
Correct.
We went down there yesterday, took a look at it. I'm trying to see where the crane was. Do you remember seeing a crane down there? Was it delivered today? The crane delivered today?
No, sir, it was delivered last Wednesday night.
Must just overlooked it, okay. All right.
It's on the south side of the building, adjacent to the gym, where those school buses are parked.
It's on the south side, okay. Okay, that's why I didn't see
Currently
it.
erecting the gym trusses.
So how are things being managed now then, if that's the case?
Because we can still get around the east side of the project on that access road.
Okay, okay. Thank you. All right. Thank you,
So
gentlemen, for...
Is the school system prepared for not to have one more strike?
Yes,
But if you do, you realize what's going to happen.
we do, and the contractor realizes as well. And Adrian has made it very clear.
Well, we're glad we're getting the school there, as opposed to somewhere else. So I think that's going to be a good thing.
Yeah, but it was pay to play, but,
Well,
we're there.
We do have a lot of skin in the game.
Yeah.
So Adrian, you pretty solid on your recommendation, give them 4-week trial period?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
I don't like it, but I'll make the motion, we go by the manager's recommendation. I mean, I don't dislike you, Adrian.
I don't like this any more than you do.
No, I think there's got to be some kind of
We got to do it.
something.
Well, I'll second your motion, but before I do, to me, this is like we're the parents, and people have not done what they've said they're going to do.
I agree with that.
And we've given you your allowance or your money or whatever, and you spent it not really well, and we're giving you some more, and we're seeing all this. So this, I hesitate to do this, but if we've got 4 weeks and this will be before school starts, then I'll second it just from that standpoint. But the 4-week part, if I have to sit out on the road, because I go back and forth there all the time and do that, you're going to see me there too, because this is really not sitting well with me, but I will second the motion with great hesitation.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
Opposed. 3 noes. Jeez. Unbelievable.
Thank you.
Well, can we bring this back at the next meeting, Adrian, or a special meeting possibly?
I don't know what we would bring back.
Where there's a will, there's a way.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, that brings us to the next item on the agenda, item number 6. Friends Sports Bar and Grill Facade Enhancement Grant.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. As you know, within the new budget that's been previously approved by you for the Main Street program, there are earmarked monies for facade enhancement grants to improve the facades of our properties in our Main Street district. So we have 2 applications that we're bringing before you tonight. The first one is submitted by Tim, owner of the Friends Sports Bar and Grill located at 16 North Main Street. He is requesting a grant to replace the awning on the front of his facade. So he received, he submitted 2 quotes, and the Design Main Street Committee and the Main Street Board reviewed those. They think it is a good project and are making a recommendation to you to award $1,797 to Mr. Tim to replace the fabric awning across the front of his business located at 16 North Main Street. On the application that was submitted, there's been conversation about allowing names on the awning, and that was just an oversight on
spoke, and Gad, if we could meet at 3:30 on the 22nd, just prior to that council workshop.
Okay.
And then at the last meeting, Mayor Pro Tem Stowe asked that we provide an update on the water and sewer usage study and analysis that Jerry's been doing on the kind of the lower portion of the peninsula. So I've asked our city engineer to provide an update on where we are with that analysis.
Okay, thank you. We, just this month, we've got a year's worth of data now that we've looked at. We're looking at both the water usage from bills for residential properties in these subdivisions. We've excluded contractor houses that are still owned by the contractor because they're not a normal water user. And we've taken that and we've come up with averages of water usage per bedroom that is significantly lower than the 120 gallons per bedroom that the state uses as a standard. So we have that argument to go by. At the same time, we've been reviewing our pump station operations. Our guys go out there 5 days a week. They record how long the pumps have operated from the previous day. And I've taken that information. They may go out there 2 o'clock one day and 11 o'clock the next day, so that gets, but they record the minutes and everything else, so I just put it in there and I get the amount of time between visits and I multiply that by the amount of time that the pumps operate. Have pretty good data on that, but we've had some problems with pump stations, and the manager and public works director and I, not the public works director, the water and sewer director, are planning to meet this week and see where we stand on that. My intent is during the month of July is to get with the state and start the conversations and hopefully come up with some kind of answer. We can get the number down. Currently it's 120. Charlotte Water, CMUD, uses a number of 91 gallons per day per bedroom. They've gone through the process with the state. They got that accepted. At that level, we would have sufficient capacity in our current pump stations and systems to handle the Worrells River development, which was an area that council annexed, but not much else. So the lower we can get that, the better, more life we can get out of our pump stations.
Yes.
So, we're working on it, and I could have brought the notebooks. They're huge, and if you like numbers, there's all these spreadsheets that cover it. But it took a while to get staff in the mode where they could get me the information quickly. They're now programmed in so that they do that. And it's kind of interesting to look at it and come up with a comparison. But definitely the 120 gallons per bedroom is an antiquated number that nobody uses. And particularly, I think I've said, in this part of town, we can figure that it's much lower because they're all brand new houses. We got tight water systems, tight sewer systems. Everything is essentially brand new that we wouldn't expect to be high water users. There may be other parts of town where we have existing residential neighborhoods that have been there for 50, 60, 70, 80 years. They may have old plumbing fixtures in them and not be nearly as efficient. But we're working on it. We haven't forgotten about it. We've got. I would say by the next meeting I should be able to have a report, or by the time we have this workshop meeting, I think I can have some numbers that I can at least share with you so that you can see how that's working.
Thank you.
Thank you for all your work on it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's all that I have for the manager's report.
Okay, that brings us to other business. We'll start out with Ron.
I just wanted to ask about the tennis courts. I saw, I think, the first kiosk go up as well. So what's the update on the second kiosk and the tennis court?
So the first kiosk was installed at Stowe Park. The contractor put the footings in for the second kiosk over here by Piccolo. Contractor put it in the wrong location, so the contractor's fixing that. But it should be operational soon. We're waiting for the electrician to hook everything up. The tennis courts, is David, there's David. Can you give us an update on the tennis courts?
Thank you, Adrian. Councilman Shrift. The lower tennis court and the pickleball court was paved last week, so the asphalt's down. They're just getting ready to paint it. Last Saturday, they dug up the upper portion and the bottom fell out after they dug it up, so it's full of water. So they're letting that dry out now. They should be able to get it pumped out and dry enough to restone it and get the upper portion paved, hopefully next week. This week's probably out because of the holiday. So we hope to get that done next week. The only thing remaining will be the sidewalk, and we're having difficulty with the painter that we contracted with that's painting the fence. He won't return calls, so we're probably going to have to go out and find another painting contractor to get it fixed. But other than that, the brick pavers were put in. The water fountain has been ordered. It's ready to be installed. So get the upper portion paved, they'll paint it, and then put down the new netting and all the equipment that goes with it. Yes, sir.
Dave, have trouble finding contractors because there's so much work out there now?
Not in the painting field. The painter we've used is a lifelong City of Belmont painter, but I think he's just overextended his workload, and I believe now he's coaching football somewhere, and we just can't get him to come in to do that. Yeah, but we'll find another painting contractor to get that painted, and other than that, we should be finished, Mr. Street, probably hopefully within 3 weeks.
Well, I'm having a hard time finding contractors. I was trying to do an office renovation. I called 5, got 1 response, and it took 6 weeks to get the quote.
Yeah.
That's
and the paving end of it was a delay, even though he had all winter to find him a contractor, but it's a very small project from the standpoint of what pavers do. It's really small.
So, and I've talked to Adrian about this. So I know, like, if we were doing this on the private side, we would have a deadline, and usually you pay a premium to have somebody finish on deadline. And we typically do not do that in government. We go for the low bid. Should we be looking at doing something with the timeline in the future? I know we get a timeline, but I mean that hard stuff.
I think any time you do a project that's over $150,000, I think it would be wise to sit down with those low bidders, and they're no different than the high bidding contractors that Jerry does with. So we give them an X amount of time to get it finished, and if they don't finish it on time, then there's liquidated damages and charge. We did not do that with this contractor, so we can't charge him.
I understand why.
We just want to get it completed, and we understand he's had just in the last month 6 inches of rain when we get there. But we wanted to complete it before July 1, and we didn't make that deadline.
Okay.
We're on target to get it done hopefully next spring.
Well, thanks. I just had a couple of questions on some outstanding projects, but that's all for me. Thank you.
To build on what Brian said, I had that same discussion with David, whether we were using carrot stick method with the contractors, and I believe we probably should. Because I feel like if there's a reward for them to move quickly, they'll try to capture that. David, thanks to you and Public Works also for the quick action on Ferris. Getting those trees down. Those were dangerous trees. I'm glad to see them gone. I think I saw Chris Beck in here earlier. He left a petition of Julia Avenue in everyone's box. I guess everyone received it and saw that. So I want to thank him for taking the time to walk up and down the street to gather those signatures. Regarding the McKee Farm vote that just took place, I mean, I guess there was some audible angst about the way that vote went, but I mean, that's just from my perspective, not speaking for these councilmen on either side of me, I just didn't feel like they made the case, and I didn't feel safe with that. So the vote's not always going to go the way it may be perceived. That's all I have.
Signs that actually collect data for us as well, and we can, those are Bluetooth, we can actually download them from Wi-Fi into our, it gives us a lot of technologies. We're not out there trying to put out the speed instrument things, and so just trying to collect as much data, but also doing the enforcement. We have seen some difference, obviously, schools out as well, so it does have some effect, but we compare the numbers, and when we get our averages, it's based on real data, not just our opinions, so we can look at that stuff, and we're going to continue that.
I was confused on the petition because it asked for funding to do the speed bumps, but didn't we already approve $25,000 for speed remedies, including speed bumps? So, if the changes in terms have to be necessary.
Yeah, the way I read, actually, there's a misunderstanding. If I recall right, you were going to do 2 months of survey, and you're going to do some things along the way, and get some data, and when we come in the end of the 2 months period of time, you're going to come back with some solid recommendations in reference to the speed bumps. But prior to that time, you were going to do some other things with devices and enforcement. Is that what I'm perceiving? Yeah, Dave and I and our staff are working together to try to put all the
Other pieces into place. We were looking at this in steps, and obviously the council has the final decision with the funds that are available there. But I think we just had this at the special meeting. Haven't had a lot of time in there to gather a lot of facts and data. But I think the August meeting maybe is when we were looking at giving the update.
We'll give an update in August, and then in September will be when you'll do sort of a 2-month study.
Yes, but we're constantly gathering data. We hope to get the sign up here soon.
The electronic sign goes up tomorrow on Julie Avenue. First thing in the morning, we'll be installing that. We hope to get the one on Keenan Boulevard installed tomorrow as well. We got in touch with our painting contractor that does our striping, Todd Sosby. He is already scheduled to stripe Julie Avenue from one end to the other with double yellow lines. So that goes in probably next week. He said he would definitely get that next week. And Public Works has ordered a brand new reflector, high intense reflectivity stop signs for that intersection that we're going to put the 4-way. And we've also ordered the reflective markers that go in the U channels for your speed limit signs. So this will call attention to the speed signs at night, just as well as it does in the daytime. So those will go on next week as well. And then the orange flags to indicate the new stop sign, stop intersection. So all that is already on order. It's in-house, and we start in the morning.
So there's really been a lot of progress to move forward.
Yes.
And we did, yes. There's been a lot of concern. I've had citizens reach out to me, different people speak to me, and And all we asked is that we were going to try these steps to put things in place to see if we get there, because we just wanted to evaluate and make a good decision so that in a year from now, we don't have citizens come back that are upset at us if that is the decision that's made to put the speed table. So that's all we were trying to do, is not to put anybody off or deny anything. We just want to be responsible in what we're doing.
Okay. All right. Ron?
No, I appreciate that report. I just wanted people to understand that you just didn't take it and ignored it, because you're very actively
No, please don't
moving
speak
forward on it.
down Julian.
Yeah.
Please.
Well, it's really hard. I don't go down it anymore.
I tell everybody that, and a lot of my friends have gotten tickets, and I explain to them where the courthouse is, because I don't want money or fixed tickets, so.
All right. Thanks, Chief. And I don't want to add anything other than the fact that I'm glad everybody showed up tonight. Thank you for being here. Good citizens. Appreciate it. Thank you. With that,
Make a motion, we adjourn?
I have a motion to adjourn. You got a second? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Meeting's adjourned. Yeah, but
Ronnie Dooley might be able to help you on South. And all these trucks are, they're not being trucks themselves. The question is, what's the interest for the school? Is it South Point Road or is it off Side Street? Is that Side Street?
No, it's South Point Road.
Okay, see, the law says if they have a leak on the street, and have a permit to close South Point Road to wash it off, when the truck is poured on, they'll have to have a permit to close it on the side street. I ran into that in South Point. Yeah, well, we got a brother match coming up. Ronnie might be able to Wake, Carolina. He might have a good one. They're from, yeah, they're both really good basketball players. One is at Carolina.